So one of the biggest mistakes I see first-time home buyers make is that they tend to trip over dollars to pick up pennies. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say that you're in a scenario where you're renting, like most first-time home buyers are, and you're now actively shopping for houses. And you guys are aware inventory is really short, so when your dream home pops up, it's pretty far and in between. So you get this opportunity, the house of your dreams pop up, and now you begin the negotiation process. A lot of people, when they go through the negotiation process, they think about it like what you see on the movies. Someone's like, I want to sell it for 10. And then the buyer's like, I'll give you 1. And they think it just like goes up and down until you meet in the middle. And that's not really how real estate negotiations go. But when this does happen, you tend to have buyers do what we call a lowball offer. During this process, in this lowball offer, you don't realize how vulnerable you are, that while you're going back and forth, and sometimes this can take a week, 2 weeks of going back and forth, you're not realizing that any buyer can just come off of the street and snag the house from you while you're trying to actively buy this. Let me give you some example of real numbers. Let's say that we are buying a $500,000 house, and we get ourselves to the point where we're within range. Like, we know the deal's gonna come together. The seller wants 10K more than the buyer's willing to pay, but the buyer now has held their line. No, I'm not buying it because I'm not gonna spend the extra 10K. $10,000 is a lot of money, but let me put this in perspective for you. I'm giving you this example of this particular person being a renter. Let's say that they're renting this house for $2,500 a month. So that's the house that they're exiting, that's their current house. We know that in Washington, over the last 5 years, of course, depending on the pocket, real estate's appreciated anywhere from 11 to 17%. For the sake of this example, let's just pretend real estate's only appreciating at 5%. So in this example, we're buying a $500,000 house. House is appreciated at 5%, that's $25,000. Okay. Now the buyer's also renting an existing house for $2,500 a month. If we now prorate that $25,000 appreciation monthly, it's about 2K. So think of it this way. Every single month that goes by essentially is costing the buyer $4,500, $2,500 in rent and $2,000 in appreciation. So the reason why I'm telling you the big mistake is tripping over dollars to pick up pennies is because in this particular example, even if you hypothetically overpaid for the house by $10,000, you're at break even in 2 months. Now, here's what we know. Because inventory is so limited, chances are it's gonna take you longer than 2 months to find the next house after you miss this opportunity. So let's say 6 months go by, now you're actually going backwards. So in this particular example, you could have overpaid for the house and still been ahead if the next opportunity took longer than 2 months. I want to be clear, I'm not going out and telling you guys to go out and overpay on houses. What I'm telling you is that when it's close, a lot of times you need to step back and realize that $10,000 in comparison to $500 isn't as big as you think it is. And when you start accounting for the money that you're throwing away in rent, and the fact that the identical house in a year is going to cost you $25K or even more, you need to put this in perspective when you're making these decisions, when you're negotiating. Guys, I hope this helps today. As always, I'm here if you need to reach out to me.